We're here to talk about, as it says on the screen, combat and other things. So some of the stuff we talked about in the keynotes that you heard Dave talking about, we're going to give a little more detail on those in here, and then of course at the end we'll have time for questions for whatever you guys want to know about. If I'm going to let them talk about it or not, we'll see. Yeah, but Darren can never speak in public, so.
That's new.
That's new. Yeah, so turn his mic off now. Just kidding. So starting on this side of the table, we have Ryan Shannon, who's a senior designer on the Landmark and EverQuest Next teams.
Hey, Ryan.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Congratulations.
Then we have Michael Mann, our lead systems designer on both EverQuest Next and Landmark.
Hey, Michael.
And on the end, we have the Brute Squad, or Darren McPherson, our lead designer on both EverQuest Next and Landmark. And now I will walk away so they can actually tell you stuff you guys want to hear.
They wanted to hear our names.
Yeah.
Is this on?
I think so.
Can you guys hear me?
All right.
No? You're not missing anything. It's okay.
It's definitely true.
Yeah, so one of the hardest things about this panel was actually come up with a name for it. It's got a lot of information about a lot of different things, so we're just going to get started right into it. Spacebar. There we go. All right. So I wanted to start off at the beginning, at our starting point, right? As you guys saw in the keynote, we started with PvP. This may have come as a surprise to some people. We did it for a lot of good reasons, actually, and one of the reasons was that we wanted to develop PvP from the beginning of the game. We view PvP as as a harder problem to solve, right? There are a lot of core systems that go between PvP and PvE, and we wanted to kind of develop the core system, the responsiveness of your camera, the targeting of your abilities, all of that stuff, and those things are of paramount importance for PvP. We wanted to nail that, and those would also work in PvP, or PvE rather. So that's one of the main reasons, an iterating-based system. So we're going to be giving you guys, the first system for combat, all the things that we've talked about previously in the keynote, and we wanted to, start working on that stuff, start getting your guys' feedback as soon as we possibly could, because we value your guys' feedback and we want to hear from you. I kind of wanted to make a note that when PvP, when you guys get your hands on fighting, we are aware that it's a little faster paced than we're really aiming for. I think the buzzword around the office is that we want to make it a little bit less twitch and a little bit more tactical. So just so you guys are aware, that is something that we're looking at, and we're going to be iterating on that. So we look forward to your guys' feedback on that very point.
Yeah, there's a fine line between twitchy and exciting, and we want to hit that so that it's accessible to everybody who wants to play. But also, we have no intention of including things like headshots and things that you need to have pinpoint precision to be able to do, and Steve Klug wouldn't allow us to do that anyway. So. You're right. It's just code, but apparently it's really hard code. So.
So that's one of the main reasons, and also in Landmark, PvP in quotes there is more than just fighting each other. And Darren's actually going to touch on this more, but with game master objects and stuff like that, PvP is not necessarily getting in and killing each other. It means significantly more, and we'll discuss that later. So in a game with no classes, right? No levels. You get your stuff from the items you equip. You are, in fact, what you equip. And we'll explain all of what that means throughout this panel. But what you can see here is the first three items you're going to get are your soldier's blade, your marksman's bow, and your conjurer's staff. And you get your effectiveness in combat from those items. Obviously, what you get is your abilities. Dave talked about this, but I'm going to go into it in a little more detail. Your main ability is attached to your left mouse button, and your alternate ability is on your right mouse button. The camera mode, when you put on an item, the camera mode will change, and it will allow you to camera look without holding the right mouse button down, and then you'll use the WASD to move. And so that's how we're starting out with it structured. And we really wanted to do this because, well, we actually tried a lot of different things, and it's just what felt right. It's what was the simplest thing to allow you guys to use your abilities to move properly, and it really kind of highlights heroic movement. It allows you to move in all sorts of creative ways. And I'll talk about some of the fun ways that we have movement in these items, kind of as we get to them.
One of the things that we aren't really addressing or talking too much about that you saw within the demos and you saw in Dave's keynote is we're going with a different targeting mechanism than you're probably used to, and that's because our world is 3D. And I know a lot of games tout that they are 3D, but you know, you've got an ability like upheaval. How are you going to blow the bridge up if you can't target it, if you can't look up and blow the bridge up? And we have lots of examples of how a tab-based targeting system wouldn't work with our abilities and our ability to manipulate the world, to have the world be destructible and have you have effect on the world. And it was very, very important for us to find a camera system that was both easy to use, intuitive, and allowed you to access the world in all of the dimensions.
Yeah, I mean, one of the coolest things is getting in and kind of playing with the wizard for EQ Next, right, and saying, hey, I walk up to an area and I look at a spot and then I blow it up with upheaval. And that's a really cool feeling. It's something that our camera kind of allowed us to do. And well, you like my Photoshop example? So, as I said previously, you know, we might be adding more abilities. There might be more things there, and that's kind of up to you guys and up to playing, right? Is two abilities enough to get you out there and have an interesting tactical combat scenario? And so we might be adding more. We will definitely be taking a look at that, and we'll get into some of the other things that give you combat builds later on. So something important to say or to touch on is when we create a weapon, we create it as a package deal, right? So Dave spoke about having a fire sword and having a fire sword and shield and how they're different when they're together. All of these items do come as a set, so you'll have the fire sword and shield set, and it's a package deal. It is designed specifically to make you feel a certain way when you're playing it. And we'll talk about the feelings and flavors of the weapons that you start with. So the marksman's bow, it is designed to make you feel sort of like a sniper, right? It's the longest range weapon we're going to release initially. The two abilities that allow you to feel like a sniper are these. Quick shot, which is, you know, it's your standard arrow shot, but then sniper's mark. So this ability is super cool. You can stand back. It has a pretty long range. It's like 45 or something. It's got a pretty long range, and it's got a cast time on it. You won't see a lot of cast times in the game, but this one does have a cast time because we kind of wanted to highlight the feeling of standing back somewhere, you know, marking out somebody, and then shooting them with an arrow, sniping them essentially, and then having that person be your quarry or your mark. And then this ability group also highlights how abilities will work together in many instances.
It's important to note here too that I realize none of you have used this, but you can easily draw an example. If you were to say this ability has a cast time, how are you going to hit a moving target? The ability doesn't fire until the cast time is over. So you have 1.5 seconds or however long that cast time is, and you have to follow your target until the cast time is up, and then the ability fires. So cast times won't be, it will work with the system that we have and won't work against it.
And something I was discussing earlier was, so our camera mode actually allows us to do a lot of really cool things, and how we treat cast time will be growing over time. It'll actually work with our camera to allow possibly different camera modes and stuff like that when you're using abilities, and it'll allow us to get really cool dramatic angles when I'm sniping and it'll zoom in. The next weapon we have is the soldier's blade. So the soldier's blade, we really want to have you be able to get out there and feel like a soldier, right? A soldier is, in this particular kind of a fantasy of what a soldier is, they're aggressive and durable and also short range. So you take this one item, you get up in somebody's face and you're able to sustain more than the other people are, right? So you have slash, which we talked about. It just does some simple damage and destroys the world, right? It doesn't do a ton of world destruction, but what it does allow you to do is, hey, I need to get through a wall. That guy went around a pillar. You can break down that pillar or break down that wall if you so allow it in your game that you've created. And then battle rush. So I mentioned that we would talk about how the camera has changed some certain abilities. Battle Rush, in the keynote, we showed you dashing forward. Well, that actually dashes you in whatever direction your camera's facing, which if you think about it is a really big departure from a lot of other games. So I can, in Landmark, you can jump and then double jump and then Battle Rush up to the top of something. And so it's almost like a heroic movement ability in itself. And it really differentiates the person wielding a soldier's blade above and beyond somebody that's not, right? Because you're just that much more mobile than somebody else. And it also does some other things that are important for being durable and aggressive and that sort of stuff. But that's really, it's a really fun ability, so I'm excited for you guys to get it.
It's really funny to watch a combat unfold, and you've got the person using the bow up on a tower, and he's trying to perch the warrior, and the warrior just looks up and then battle rushes him and kills him, and it's pretty funny, and it's incredibly fun to play. So our goal is that each one of these weapons have abilities that are fun to play.
And then last is the Conjurer Staff. The Conjurer Staff is, well, it makes you feel like a caster, right? It's a high risk versus reward. It's dangerous, and it's sort of a medium range item here. Energy Burst is sort of the crux, or it's what everything pivots off of in this item. Energy Burst is like an arcane shotgun, is what we like to call it. It shoots out 9 bolts, and they all start from a single point. And then they spread out over time. So if you get in close to somebody, you can do a significant amount of damage. I'd say it's about 4 or 5 times more damage than the other people can do when you're right on top of them. But it doesn't give you defenses like some of the other items might. It in fact gives you no defenses, so it's a little more dangerous to get in there. But if you do want to take that risk, or you catch somebody unawares, you can really blow them up quickly. So. And then Gravity Shock is for those instances where you can see somebody running towards you and you want to keep them away from you, or you want to keep them close to you if you're crazy. So we actually, like I was saying earlier, if there are no classes and we want you to have lots of different play styles, as we've discussed before, we are going to have more weapons, right? I mean, we plan on creating a lot of weapons. That's sort of the expansion model here. We're going to be creating weapons over time, and we're going to get into some examples of weapons that we'll be creating in the future. And then also weapon ability tweaking. So we're going to be tuning and tweaking this stuff quite a bit. When we said that we're getting this stuff into your guys' hands as soon as possible, or as soon as we can, we want to hear your feedback. We want to hear what you have to say about, hey, this guy does too much damage. This guy, this needs tweaking. These abilities aren't interesting, or any of those things. Or hopefully, these things are amazing and fun. But we want to hear your feedback. We want to tweak these things, and so that'll also be happening over time. Now, as an example, you guys saw the Inferno Edge weapon set. Did you guys think that was pretty cool looking? You think it's? So this is just one example of the sorts of weapons that we're going to be expanding on in the future. And these will be designed similarly to the other ones. They'll have flavors and they'll have goals that we really want to work towards. And if you notice, this is the first set that we actually have shields on, or that we have a shield on. And so that's going to allow you to have high defense. And I put fiery here as something that we're aiming towards, which should be obvious given that it's a fire sword and a fire shield. But we have particular flavors of these things that we really want to expand on. And Ryan's actually going to touch on how we do that. I didn't want to give away too much this early in the presentation on that, but he'll be discussing a little bit more of that. And these are the abilities that are attached to it right now. With this item not being released initially, these could change over time, and so just so you're aware of that. They obviously don't have icons or anything, but this is what was happening. So Ignite did damage and then added a dot, and Scorch did damage in a corridor and burnt whoever was standing in there, and also stunned them for a little bit of extra awesomeness. So you get stunned and then lit on fire.
Extra awesomeness is always good.
Yeah. What was it yesterday? It's super fun or something. I don't know. Anyway, so that's what Inferno Edge does. These are some shots of some of the items that will be coming. Some of these were in the EQ Next keynote. We'll be sharing some of those art assets, but these, just like the other things, will have unique play styles associated with them. You'll be able to use these in Landmark to kill each other and eventually to kill monsters. And then we've said this before, but we are what
Genre agnostic.
Genre agnostic. Yes, there you go. I always get the words.
The buzzwords.
It's just, anyway, so these are some examples. We have swords and shields on the left, and then laser guns, right? So it's not just fantasy-style combat. You're going to be able to get out and burn each other with lasers, because that's what you guys always look for. And then there's this guy that we're going to be turning into a weapon. It's a laser cannon. So if you like to laser cannon people,
and who doesn't? I mean, let's be honest.
Really, yeah. It's sort of like pulverizer for people.
People pulverizer. That's what we should call it.
That's what we're going to call it. So this is another thing that we have planned in the future, and so we're really going to be expanding it and broadening the scope of all of the things that you guys can do as far as weapons. So now I'm going to turn it over to Ryan here, and he's going to talk about some more item types and stuff.
So Man has talked a lot about weapons, but you also need armor. And so initially we're going to be launching with those three weapons that you saw. Later on down the line, we're going to start opening up or releasing armor for you to wear as well. But armor is more than just the items that you wear. Armor is also a resource. It's basically an additional layer of defense on top of your health. And this is an example of how that is going to look in game. And so you can see here health on the right and armor on the left. The reason for that is armor is it's a small health pool basically that regenerates quickly, which is useful for creating strategic situations basically.
You can get in and test the waters, right? You can get in and, that was a bad idea for me to do that. So you can get back out of, and it will regenerate. And it's much more dynamic. It's much faster. And we like armor because when you equip a shield, you should get more armor. Now, other games handle, which is a passive mitigation stat that increases or decreases. But we really wanted to be, I equipped that shield, and I just got a big chunk of more armor, and it feels more real to us.
Right, and a lot of this mechanic has to do with the fact that we want you to be self-sustaining in combat, right? We don't want you to rely on sort of the whole dedicated healer thing that we've talked about not having in Landmark and EQN. And so armor sort of provides that, right? With armor, if you take damage, right, and you are dropped into your health, you know that if you can break away from combat and you can get your armor to regenerate, then you can get back in there. Or if you have abilities that regenerate your armor, you aren't reliant on somebody else to do that for you.
Yeah, so we're looking to put it sort of in your guys' hands as far as how you survive in combat and that sort of thing. That's absolutely not to say that we won't have people, or rather, we'll go the other way. We will have people that will be able to help you. Armor doesn't exclude the possibility of people healing or people helping you regenerate your armor or stay in the fight. But really, we want to put it in your hands as far as, hey, I get out in combat and I know when I'm in danger and when I need to move. I know the limits of my armor resource, and I have responses. Everybody has a response as to what they can do in combat. It's not, that healer didn't heal me. That's frustrating, and I don't have any recourse.
Or what's
I can
worse,
help myself.
right? Or what's worse is and this is for both games, for Landmark and EverQuest Next. You log in, and your healer friend is not on because he's doing a family thing or something, and you can't play. And that's not, our goal is to avoid those situations. We still want to make those support classes feel significant in combat, but not make them a requirement for you to participate in the game.
Yeah, and this just holds true for both games, and so you'll see this in Landmark as well.
Okay, so keywords. This is something else that has been talked about in previous keynotes and panels and whatnot. But this is a system that's actually going to be introduced first in Landmark. And you're going to see it on your weapons and your armor. And that is going to be powerful in that it's going to let you combine certain sets of gear to create interesting combinations. So for example, we showed you the Inferno Edge, right? It's got the fiery keyword. If you were to get a piece of armor that also had the fiery keyword, and that piece of armor, it said something like, when you do fire damage, you stun, or you do bonus damage, something like that, right? It allows us to create these sort of sets of gear that you can collect and then get cool benefits out of.
And something I want to add, I keep cutting you off, my bad.
fine.
But something I like to add is that the keywords won't necessarily be the same. I know I have the same graphics up here, but they're not necessarily going to be the same because we can branch out into different territories in Landmark that aren't necessarily there in EverQuest Next. And so, fire doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to light something on fire. It could be energy, or it could be something like that, like a laser gun lights things on fire. That's different than fire pillar, for instance. And so while we have these graphics up here to show you guys to connect them, we have room to grow in other areas that we're going to do in Landmark. So.
So keywords also encourage fighting styles, in the sense that certain keywords will have certain benefits.
Right. I mean, they have some sort of inherent benefit. It's really about, and certainly with these weapon sets, we wanted you to be able to. I was speaking with somebody here in the audience earlier, and they were talking about classes and what Landmark would have. And I said, you won't be in Landmark. You won't be a cleric. You won't be a warrior. Whatever you are, you'll be I'm an Inferno Edge wielder. And that's going to mean something. Or my build is Inferno Edge plus the Mechanic's Tunic. I'm making stuff up here. But I mean, that combination will mean something to players in Landmark because of the keywords and the build that is produced by combining those keywords.
Right. So this falls into the fact that you can wear anything, right? And we're going to provide you with lots of different types of equipment that have lots of different combinations, right? Things that you can combine together to give you access to just a number of play styles when you are playing the game. So we've in the keynote we showed off. We talked about.
Well, we talked about the different play styles you would have with something like this armor that benefits you playing at range. There'll be lots of other types of armor that will do different types of benefits and bonuses and really promote a type of gameplay. And if you like that gameplay with the specific item that you do, then you can combine those, especially if they have proper keywords, and make a build that is to your liking.
Yeah, so you guys have already seen these ones, but we just wanted to go through them really quickly. They'll have playstyles like this medium armor, for instance, that will allow you to move. We are actually looking at adding costs to heroic movement a little bit, and we have the goals of saying, hey, you can, when you are not in combat, you should feel pretty free to move around and to have fun because, I don't know about you guys, but I love heroic movement. I love jumping around and doing all that stuff. And when I go to a game that doesn't have heroic movement, I feel like constrained to the earth, right? I'm like, oh, what's happening? I should be free. And so, we still want to have that. But in combat, we want to tone it down a little bit so that things aren't totally crazy. And so this item will, this sort of item, armor rather, will allow you to open up that movement a little bit more. That's not to say we're not removing, we aren't removing heroic movement from combat. We are toning it down a little bit though. And then, this heavy armor, the heavy colony armor you see, will have extra defenses and stuff like that. But there are actually quite a few different play styles that we're going to be encouraging. We're going to make a lot. You like? Yeah. So it was late when I was writing this, and
Clearly.
I may have had fun with some of the animations and stuff like that. So, but anyway, there are just a plethora of fighting styles that we want to introduce, and so you're not missing out on things because there are no classes in Landmark. It's just doing things a different way, and the play styles are a large part of that. It's showing you that, hey, if you want to build your guy around somebody that likes to leap a lot or likes to stun a lot, or whatever it is, you can do that, and you can find a mechanic that you enjoy, and you can focus in on it and get items that go along with it. Would you like to?
So along that line, these are these are concepts we've been working on for different types of armor that we plan on releasing in the future. And the idea is that we would theme benefits that these armor provides based on sort of what they look like, right? So we have the gladiator-looking armor, right? So that guy would probably have many benefits that allow him to close in and brawl with people, up close. Whereas down in the bottom corner, we have the sort of wizard-looking, the sort of archetypical wizard outfit, right? So that would probably be more of a long range or a
You can say black mage, it's okay.
black mage. Very high damage benefits, something like that. Since Landmark is genre agnostic, we get to do really cool things like this. You know, this is a concept for a gunslinger outfit, right? So it's pretty awesome, right?
So something else that I don't know that we're mentioning here. We're not talking about the decoupling. I don't think we're talking about that. So you see a lot of these armors, but we don't have the notion that this is heavy armor or we want to decouple the look of something from its function. So this could be a really good armor for someone who likes medium range combat, or who likes heroic movement, or
Someone likes 6 shooters or something.
or someone who likes 6 shooters, right? However that works. So that colony suit, you saw the big heavy armor colony suit. That'd be a really good idea for a conjurer to wear, who's wearing using a conjurer staff, because he wants to be up close. But the conjurer probably has to compete with other armor that may increase close range damage weapons. So you get to choose: do I want to be safer up close, or do I want more damage up close? And you get to tailor and tune that.
Mm-hmm. And so we think that we'll actually come up with quite a few interesting and cool scenarios. Or not we really. We think you guys will come up with a lot of cool scenarios that will, I'm a gunslinger that wields laser pistols, and that's what I do, and that's really cool. And we hope that you guys can find combinations and stuff that you really enjoy playing, and that you can sort of you have a vision in your head and you can work towards it. And so we hope to provide the options that allow you to do so.
So in addition to weapons and armor, we're also going to have combat accessories. And this is just another item slot that we can use to provide you with cool keyword combinations or additional passive benefits in combat, stats for specialization. So like we talked about, if you wanted to be a laser gun wielder, right, maybe we have stats specifically for that to, I don't know, help you out there.
So I'm going to cut you off again because I'm just crazy. So one of the things that we've talked about before is stats. We don't really want the game to be a crazy number crunching game, right? We don't want you guys to focus on, what's the threshold for armor penetration, or how do I work the right amount of crit rating into there and all that sort of stuff. We don't want it to just be a number crunching thing. There will be number crunching opportunities, trust me, but we want the complication not to lie in how the stats function, but more to lie in how your abilities work together and how your accessories work with the playstyle from your armor and stuff like that. And so there will be stats on items, but they won't be the main focus. You won't just be, grinding out for an extra 3 strength or whatever it is on your piece of gear. And so,
right, you'll be looking more for keywords and passive bonuses. And to give you sort of an example of what we're talking about there, these are sort of some mock-up ideas of what sort of accessories we might release in the future, right? So the Belt of Destruction, gain 20% damage if you have not taken damage for 10 seconds. That is a passive benefit that sort of changes the way that you play. So this would be something you probably want to combine with like a long-range playstyle. So maybe you would be wearing light armor that increases the range of your spells, and you then equip the Belt of Destruction in order to combo those things together. Right? And then we have Energy Coil. You take 25% less damage from opponents in the snared state. So if you have if you have a weapon that has a lot of crowd control on it, then you would absolutely want to equip this particular accessory to combo those effects together. But that's basically catering to your playstyle. And that's how we're going to basically give you all these crazy options. Just combine whatever way you want to.
I mean, the energy coils. So we've seen the conjurer staff. The conjurer staff has the snare field. Well, you get this, and now you start dropping snare fields on yourself.
Sure.
So that anyone who closes with you you're taking 25% less damage. So this becomes a great defensive item for a person who has a who has a snare, and we'll have lots of different choices for you to make that are significant. Oh, I've got to have that item because of the way I play.
Right.
Yeah, the Belt of Destruction would be a great item for one of our starting weapons, probably the bow, right? Because if you sit back and snipe people, you don't intend on taking damage a whole lot. And so this just, oh, hey, it's almost like a free 20% damage. That's pretty cool. I hear that's better than +3 dex or whatever. Right?
Exactly, yeah. So all of this is what combines together to give you your character builds, right? We're talking about the abilities that you get from your weapons, the bonuses that you get from your armor, the keywords and the passive benefits that you also get from accessories. And you combine these together and you have this huge variety of builds that you can create from the items that we are giving you guys.
Talking about monsters?
That's next.
Is that next?
Monsters.
I should have gotten more sleep last night. I had notes in front of me, and I'm like, what's next? It's cool.
Well, I mean, so you all know monsters are coming eventually, right? And so this is, I mean, you've seen all these. The fiery fungi, the chomper, the necrozoa, and the scorpion bush, and our various wisps. All very deadly creatures that you will definitely want to have effective character builds from item combinations to fight and defeat in the future.
My turn. All right, so monsters are cool. Let's move on to the next one because this is even better. All right, so Dave mentioned this yesterday in the keynote. Was it yesterday? It's been a long couple of days.
Was that yesterday?
I think so.
Is it yesterday?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yesterday morning, Dave mentioned this in the keynote, and this is the beginning of our Game Master system. And these game set objects allow you to when we provide those game set objects to you, play different games within Acclaim. So the very beginning of this system is going to be PvP. We're going to give you a couple of these. Well, we're going to give you 3 to start with. The PvP, the deathmatch, the team deathmatch, and the control point. So let's walk through how these work really quickly. You lay down your game table, which is our little table with dice, and that is going to bring up a UI for you. And it's going to say, here are the required props because of the rule, because of the game that's attached to that table. Here are the required props that you need. There's 0 guesswork for you to do. And then we say, okay, well, let's say that in creating a control point, you have a single control point is required, and a Team 1 and Team 2 respawn. And we plan on having up to 8 teams. A lot of things are coming down the road, and that's one of them. And then you don't ever have to have those objects in your inventory. You don't have to have crafted them or anything like that. You simply hit the place button, and it appears on your cursor, and you place it wherever you want. And then once the required props are placed, you can enable the game. And all that system is automated. The minute you walk onto Acclaim that has a game that is valid, that has been enabled, you can join the game. It will put you in a queue. It'll wait for the minimum amount of players, and then the game will start. You guys saw some of that yesterday during the keynote. Let me be very clear here, because I know there's a lot of contention about the PvP versus PvE and how we're tackling these things first. And Michael explained the good reasons why we're doing PvP, but it is our plan very rapidly to include PvE content in these game set objects. So you want to make a wave battle. So it's your group of people versus waves of NPCs, and we're going to give you the ability to set that up. And then to extend that farther, right, so PvE content will be present here. To extend that farther, we're going to be able to allow you to create these yourself. So let me explain how they're created on our side first. Each game object is basically a rule set. It's a set of rules. We have the rule is the most atomic unit in this system, and a rule might be an objective that is capture and hold, or capture, right? And or it could be track kills, or it could be any number of things. And when we make a game for you to play, we will combine those various rules to create the game itself. Eventually, you will be able to create those yourself. You'll have an editor. You'll be able to create unique games. be it PvP or PvE, you'll have all these access to all of these rules. You'll have an editor that allows you to drag these things in, and that system will be very automated for you. So if you want to make a capture and hold versus NPCs that also is a team deathmatch and there's a race element to it, which would be weird, but you could feasibly do that, I guess. Then you could publish that and you can say, hey, friends, I've made this crazy game, you should come and play it. And this is just the beginning of a much larger system that we want to give to you, which allows you to make, it starts with games, and it moves to content. And we want you to be able to make your own content. So these rule set objects are just the beginning of the game master system that will come, and eventually you'll be able to make content, dungeons, and all the things that you want to be able to make, and that we want you to be able to make in Landmark. So movers. Movers are fun. Movers are sort of our grand category for all those things that move you around. You're going to see teleporters. Teleporters work really well. And we think that this is going to add a very unique sense to your areas. Combine this with a rule set object, or sorry, a rule set game, and you've got all sorts of fun. You've got these things as traps potentially. Initially, we're going to just have 3 different models of these things. Sorry, there's one model for each type. So the teleporter looks like this. The moving platform looks like that. But eventually, we're going to have lots of these different models. You're going to have more sci-fi versions, more rustic or ancient-looking ones, and then ones that will work better as traps, because we want these to function as traps as well. So our flinger is This is a fantasy version of our flinger, but we want lots of flingers. Oh, look at that! That happened. We want these to be used as traps as well. So we want to make models that you can hide discreetly in your area, and then it'll shoot people off. And as Dave mentioned yesterday, you can adjust a lot of the parameters of these things. The moving platform, for instance, you can adjust the pause speed, how long it pauses at each dock. You can adjust the speed at which it travels. So if you want to make a Mario-style jumping puzzle, you can make one of those in your play. This adds a whole bunch to the games that you can make. So you imagine the PvP game where you've got to get to the object, but the only way to get up there and click the object is to negotiate and navigate this crazy, complex maze of the teleporters and all sorts of things. And you include traps in there, and it becomes a lot more fun. So I guess now it's time for Q&A. We've been joined by Landmark Guy, and I think it's ready for Terry. And
all right, so if you've been at any of our other panels, we're going to line up over here on the side, and then you come up one at a time. We're live streaming this, so we'll do it right in front again.
Live streaming.
And we have, yeah, make sure to line up right along the edge of the barricade there so that we're not right in front of the live streaming camera, please. And come on up, we'll get started.
Velix from EQ Hammer. You guys in the past on Landmark Live have broached the topic of having peaceable outfits. And are you guys still planning to do that? And if so, is that something you've thought about doing for armor, or?
Absolutely. So going forward, we'll actually have the traditional wearable slots that you would have. Probably in the interim, you'll have non-visible pieces as we open up accessories. You'll have boots. You won't be able to see them. You'll have a chest piece. You won't be able to see them. So we want to be able to have itemized properly without being dependent on having that system in place.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come on.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for making combat in MMOs exciting and fun again. I mean, this is incredible. And I also wanted to ask about finding this gear. I mean, is this going to be something that we are crafting, the weapons and the armor, or is this going to be something that we get off of mobs? What's the concept there?
All of those things, right? Like in Landmark, we want you to kind of play the things that you're interested in, and so there will be loot off of NPCs. There will be loot that you craft. There will be loot that you have to trade for, that sort of thing. And so we're really interested in combining those things and getting an interesting way of, getting your stuff. And so there might be some items that say, hey, you have to both do combat and craft. And so we are really going to be exploring a lot of different ways of getting your items.
Yeah, it's something we didn't cover in this panel because there wasn't time. We have lots of good plans for making itemization a thing that no matter how many times you have gotten that piece of gear through the the RNG that happens when you get loot, that you're excited every time, and that items become currency for making other things, and lots of good plans for that.
And just in case somebody doesn't know, RNG means the random number generator, just in case. I'm sure you guys all know that. But
Change his shirt.
I was freezing.
We're going to recognize
I came to
you.
the desert
I know,
and I'm
it's
freezing.
super
It is
cold, I know.
freezing in here, yeah.
Two things. First of all, you said, for example, if somebody has the fiery sword and then they get the Inferno shield, that will change the abilities that the sword gives or whatever. Will we ever get the option to have, say, the Inferno sword and a laser gun and have our main ability from the sword and our alternate from a ranged weapon?
So the way it actually works is, so the example that we gave was that if you were to have the Inferno sword by itself, it would have particular abilities associated with it, but you can't take two items and combine them together, at least not currently. So they come as a set. So when you get the fire sword, you always have the fire shield, and those abilities are designed to be a package deal. So it's not currently planned that you can have a laser cannon in one hand and a fire sword in the other to change the abilities.
Unless that's a weapon set that we made. So
Yeah,
we're going to give you
Exactly.
that set. You'd either, because right now we say, here's a fire, you got the fiery blade, or you got the Inferno sword. But if you get the Inferno edge, it's actually a sword and shield combined, and that's one item.
It would be super cool to have, a fire sword and a laser pistol or something like that. I mean, those are certainly options that are on the table and that we can explore.
So you can't combine the fire sword with a shadow shield, for example, because that's not a set.
Correct.
Okay.
Unless we made a package that was
right.
those two together.
And the second thing is, regarding the monsters, how much, if any, of the emergent AI that you're putting in EQ Next are you going to use in Landmark?
Yeah, good question. So I'll take that one.
every bit we can.
Yeah, every bit we can. So we've talked about lots of things. Man, the Storybricks guys, I think they're probably in here, but they want to put AI in everything, right? So I mean, everything you can possibly imagine. Like, what can we do? How can we make these crafting stations more intelligent? Sort of thing, right? And so they really, really want to have rallying call-like things within Landmark, where there's a whole bunch of wisps that start congregating, and you've got to do the Great Wisp Hunt of 2014, and you got to depopulate that, and then something will happen on the islands. So yeah, that's the goal.
So with all these items and armor coming up, are we going to have the option of appearance armor versus equipped armor?
Yeah, are you going to do this one, Terry?
Yes.
We got to throw Terry the easy ones sometimes.
Thank you.
All right, so I spent about 8 hours making a really awesome PvP arena. What happens after the first match where 8 people show up with terrain-destroying swords?
Let me tell you how that works, right? You go in there, there's terrain
gone,
destruction, it's all crazy. The match lasts for 15 minutes. Red team wins. You get the scoreboard. 10 seconds later, everyone's booted out. The whole thing is healed up again, and you're ready to start.
Come on.
Ask the quick questions real first. If I'm wearing heavy armor, am I going to sink in the ocean?
So there isn't heavy. So there is no heavy, light, or medium armor. So
Okay.
it's not just we.
So
we
it's
try
not going to
say
affect the
that.
way I swim or anything like that? I'm
Shouldn't-
not going to drop
no.
like a stone? Okay. How many of those movers can we have on a single claim? Are we going to get limited like we are in EverQuest 2?
Just say one.
Terry.
More than one. No. Yeah. No.
So I can have like a dozen of them on my claim, and it's not
sure.
really going to
Now,
matter.
there are limitations. So not numbers, but say the teleporter. If you place the teleporter farther than Dave tested it, 95 blocks, something like that, 97 voxels away, it'll incur a load time. So, but that's the only restriction that I can think of. There will be maximum placement. You're not going to be able to place one. You saw that there are dual props, so you have the flinger and the
right.
destination point. You can't place one outside your claim.
Right.
But you can have it launch you across all of your attached claims if you
But I can't
want.
have, like, you can only have 6
No.
movers.
You guys will discover the limits.
Yeah, I think Dave covered that one when he was playing with this. He probably put about 50 or 60 on a claim, if not more. Yeah, and he had a lot of fun doing it.
Okay. Monsters, how are we obtaining those in regards to the game? Are we crafting them? Are they going to be drops when we kill
Monsters?
them? Yeah.
Most-
Like when I want to do, like
Oh,
you
yeah,
said,
yeah.
NPCs against people.
When you create content.
Yeah. So,
Where the way that system, ostensibly that system will work, is we haven't done all of that
Oh,
work
okay.
yet, is that you will be able to create those from a roster that you have collected through some advancement mechanism. And you say, I don't yet have the Necrozoa, I can't put that in my dungeon, but I
Okay.
do have this.
Okay,
And
okay.
you'll progress and you'll gain those things and unlock them over time.
okay, and then final last question is, in regards to the abilities, I'm hearing that we're going to be able to collect all these abilities, but we have 2 mouse buttons. Are we going to have a toolbar? Are we going to have to go back?
You need the 17-button mouse.
I made a mouse for that. Yeah. You didn't see it? No. So there will be limitations to how many weapons you can swap during combat. Those numbers are up in the air right now. We'll be tweaking that over time.
It'll be limited.
So
Very limited.
abilities are tied to weapons?
Always.
then?
Correct. Yes.
In
it's
Landmark,
always
yes.
tied. So
It's the weapons you're wielding,
your
not how many
character-
weapons. You're thinking like of EQ
Like,
Next and collecting classes and abilities.
Yeah.
It's collecting weapons, and so you only have one weapon
That's
set
different from
equipped at a time.
Landmark than EverQuest.
Yes.
And even in EQ Next, you only have 8. If you remember from last year, you got 4 primaries and 4 secondaries, and that's it.
Correct. So when you get a weapon and you equip it, that's what grants you the use of those abilities at the
Right.
time.
So you'll be able to collect lots and lots of weapons, but you'll only have the 2 at a time or the 3 at a time, however that works. Yeah, we're never doing that.
I want to congratulate you guys. It looks awesome so far. Can't
Thank
wait
you.
to play it. I would like to know for Team Deathmatch, the max number of players would be allowed.
That's a good question. We're playing around with those numbers based on performance, but we're targeting no more than 8 teams right now. No, 4 teams right now, and no more probably than 8 per.
Okay.
But again, those will change based on performance.
Now, for a single death type of match, would you have a spectator camera available for
Absolutely.
players?
So one of the things that we haven't talked about in this is that what happens when you approach a claim. First of all, we're going to change it so that you can see that there's cross swords or something. Oh, that claim has active PvP going on. You'll walk up to it and it'll say, oh, there's an active game going on. Do you want to join the queue? And you'll join the queue and you'll be queued up. And then it will say, do you want to go into Observer Cam? And if you go to Observer Cam, you can fly around in there. The players can't see you. The contestants can't see you. But you can watch the action.
Just to follow up, so when
Now,
I
to be
stream-
clear, that will probably not make the original, the 27th release. Obviously, we're prioritizing these things to get you the best features, the most solid features between now and the 27th. But that is in the plan. The code has already started.
Okay, so the owner of the lot can observe the teams also the same way?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
How's it going? As a fan of more realistic combat, are you guys going to be doing friendly fire or not friendly fire, PvP,
So
PvE?
friendly fire is a toggle that the game creator can turn on and off. So actually, the game objects. So the person making the game, even with these new ones, these 3 that we're giving you, there's a toggle right on that settings page for friendly fire on and off.
Sweet.
Yeah, we've said that. So we're using these tools and opening them up so that people can you can create the games that you want, and so we'll be adding over time new things like that. So.
And this is definitely something that we want to engage you as the community on, is what other rules do you want? What other things do you want to see? Because the system is set up to house any number of rules. So if we decide you guys really want to do races, well, we can make an objective that is cross this area, in a certain amount of time, and we'll time it, and that's something that we could easily add.
I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more, because you mentioned camera angles and stuff when you're in combat. Some games use sort of like a crosshair type system where you're looking is where your attack's going to go. Some of you have like a little spot on your mouse, and wherever you put it on your screen, that's where things are going to fire. What kind of system are you guys looking into using?
So we showed a screenshot somewhere, but there's a targeting reticle in the middle of your screen, and that is what's attached to your mouse. So when you look in a direction, whatever is underneath that will be where you shoot. Some abilities will always be tied to that. Most abilities will generally be tied to that, and some will not. But right now we use...
Oh, it doesn't show anything. That's the one before. There we go.
Oh, you removed the targeting reticle.
I didn't.
Yes.
I didn't. Gosh, Ryan Shannon.
It's a screenshot.
Anyway, just go ahead. Listen. So the direction you face will, or the direction your camera faces rather, will be where you shoot towards, and so that's what we're going with now. And we also have additional information tied to your reticle, so you can see, how far away your target is, if you can grapple to it. Your casting bar will be there, stuff like that. So, thank you.
We have about 5 minutes left for questions.
Oh.
Cool deal. Well, I'll keep most of my questions for another time then. I'm probably actually going to be starting up a show on Twitch for Combat Daily. More information about that coming soon. But the question I do have for you guys, a lot of the combat seems like a lot of the best stuff from DCO in a good way. It really reminds me a lot of like if DCO is taken to another level. But the thing that I remember from that, that I'm not quite seeing here, the left click and right click interactions with various other things, tapping them or holding them or those variations. Is that stuff that might be added to enhance more of the skills and
charged ability,
yeah,
or rapid firing, or any of that stuff? Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, we're playing.
Holding both both buttons out at the same time. I mean, any number of interactions with that mouse.
Sweet.
Hi, I have both a question and a request. The question is, for those people who have multiple add-on claims, who want to do PvP, do you have to set your entire collection up, or can you set individual claims up as PvP and some as not?
So in this,
Old slides.
I love old slides, okay? I just love old slides. So the pawn, right there, is called the game marker. You place that in an attached claim, or in any of the claims. So if you put the game table in one, that's going to automatically be a PvP area. Okay. You place the pawn and the other ones that you want to be part of that game, and they're there. So assuming you had 3 claims or something, you just want 2 of them, and you want your house in the other one, you can do that.
If you want to make an arena and then have stands or something like that for people to watch.
Great. Yeah. And my request is, it sounds like you are currently setting this game up to be really heavily mouse-based. Some of us aren't able to use the mouse extensively due to physical limitations. So the request is, if you could please also, at some point, try to build in methods to rekey things onto the keyboard and off of the mouse. Because you started doing that already, but it's not complete. There's a whole bunch of camera movement. There's a bunch of camera movement and stuff that you can't pull off of the mouse.
Okay, so with that, I'll take this one really quick. We have the system in place. If there are things that we haven't done it with, let us know. It's just because it's an oversight on our part, and we'll attach those to that so that you guys can totally rekey anything you want. So we're not linking it to anything in particular. We want you guys to be able to play the way you want to play.
Great.
So.
Camera movement.
Yeah. All right.
Put it on the list.
You just requested it. Write that down.
It's on the list.
Cannot right now, like to strafe, you can only set it up as 1 key. You can't use 2 keys to strafe. It will not let you.
Okay. We'll take a look at that. I know that Mr. Klug is sitting right back there, and he's taking copious amounts of notes. Oh, wait.
Noted.
He's not. We're taking notes up here, and we'll remind him when we get back from Vegas.
Will we have the ability to do it like persistent leaderboards? So say I want to create a claim that's a speed run, and I want to keep a leaderboard of who's at the top. And
it's definitely in our plan to do that.
And then one other thing is, what about abstract? And to give a specific, so like we have contests on Landmark Live and on the workshop show. So I can set up like a criteria for submission in game, and then have it submitted, and that way I can review in game those submissions.
So,
I guess I didn't understand.
It's like creating a competition of their own on the claim.
Okay. So unrelated to this. Okay.
That's an interesting idea. I don't know that we've talked about that.
Yeah. But we certainly want the community to be as involved in this as we are able to. So that's a really good idea. I'm sure Colette's taking notes.
Yeah, I apologize. We have time for just one more question, and that's because we have to make sure the room is clear by 3 o'clock so that they can start setting up for the grand banquet. So we only have time for one more question.
If at the PvP combat, if friendly fires off and there's 18 gravity wells, am I going to know which one's my friends and which one's not?
So that is not initially, but it is something we want to put in, because it's important.
And with those,
Flinger?
The flingers, thank you. You have to place the landing spot. Can I place it on a moving platform? And if I do, will I land where it is or where it was?
You broke it already.
Yeah, I think that's the same question that Dave asked when he first saw them.
You cannot.
Right now, you can't.
You cannot do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry. But I think that was the first thing out of Dave's mouth, too. He's like, hey, can I put that over there? All right. So thank you guys for coming out. Did you have anything to do? Yeah, I already said that. So thanks for coming out. Hope you guys got some good information. These guys and everybody else that's here from Landmark and EQ Next are going to be available and in the halls. Make sure to grab us at the banquet. If you have some questions, we'll be glad to answer them there. And then we have Q&A tomorrow after the Dev Brunch from 12 to 1. And it's moved. It's over in the studio that's over by the south elevators. So thanks a lot, guys. And unfortunately, I have to tell you all to get out.
Game Master system, we'll have to.
Oh yeah, and so go ahead and head on out there, but starting right now in the Dev Lounge, is that what it's called? The Dev Lounge, we're also doing the Year of EverQuest signing, so if you have something that you want to get autographed by various members of the team, feel free to stop by there. Thanks, guys.